My name is Akio Sakido.
Hey guys, this is Anto Lecky.
My name is Leo Bliss.
My name is Akava. I go by the name Baba D.
And you're tuned into Rapid TV. I love Rapid TV.
Shout out
Rapid TV.
Thank you, Rapid TV. Please keep watching
Rapid TV. This is
Rapid TV.
Rapid TV.
Keep watching. Keep it rev down.
Leave it like that.
Back and thanks for staying with us. It's still Rapid Dawn on Rapid TV, and we have been hanging out with you throughout the morning from the hour 7 up until now. We've had amazing conversations from the start of the day, letting you know some of the changes that are being made in the tech world, today in history, and then moving on to taking you through the lens, letting you know about Nigeria through our national dailies. It's been an amazing time throughout the morning. And I had an absolute good morning. We're still in the morning, though. I'm sounding like we're in the afternoon already. Yes, people. And we always will say that at 9 o'clock, we have the very big conversation. Big conversation because we talk about Nigeria as a country, some of the policies and some of the things that are affecting us and what we can do to ensure that we have a better nation, Nigeria. But for the 9 o'clock hour today, we will be accessing the life and the time of a man who has made impact in the Nigerian system. Now, he has left behind a complex legacy, one that you might not be able to hold on to a particular thing and say, oh, I'm faulting him for this, or he did this and he did that. But we're going to leave all of that to the person we have seated right here in the studio to tell us about. But yes, he is President Mohammadu Bahuri, and he passed on at the age of 82, which was yesterday, in a hospital or a London clinic. And today we are not just remembering the man, we're remembering his legacies, we are remembering his contributions, we are remembering his political career and his life and time in general. We have with us a political strategist and a member of the APC, one who has worked closely with President Mohammadu Buhari, and he is Mr. Abu. And good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
You're not smiling. You're more.
I mean, it's a sad day. I mean, it's a sad period for all of us.
Surely.
So I mean, there can't be smiles on my face. Not right now.
Okay. So we know that you worked closely with President Mohammadu Buhari, and beyond the political headlines, you must have known him in person, if we are correct. And what do Nigerians often misunderstand about him? Who was he as a person beyond the office that we see?
Okay, so first off, thanks for having me. And I mean, it's a great privilege for me to come and speak here about someone I really, really like, So we have this followership that they call Buharist. So it's safe to say that, while he was alive, I was a Buharist. And so about working closely, I won't say that, but so we did a whole lot of things, going into 2015, elections before the APC eventually won the election. And we had close contact with him, at least close interactions with him and all. He was a man that, had a lot of firm belief about how Nigeria should work for everybody. Unfortunately, going into office, I think just a few years into, his inauguration, health became a challenge to him. And that, for me, was the turning point from, that man that had a lot that he wanted to do, for the country. So it got to a point where I think for him, what mattered more was for him to have, restitution of health, and I think that, affected a lot of things that he would have done. Then, of course, for us then as APC, going into that election was that person that could win, the sitting president as at the time, that election happened. And Buhari was the man that could do it. Yes, we knew that age and some other things were an encumbrance, on him, but we just wanted, at that time, something different from, what we had at the time, and Buhari was the person, that we could, put our money on, and it happened, and today we're talking about him in death. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about Buhari's presidency, the first thing a lot of people, even before he got into office, the first thing a lot of people would say is anti-corruption, and security. Would you say he truly delivered on these promises, or did his administration fall short of this?
So yeah, there was something, the initial time when he came in, there was this slogan, Nigerians use body language and all that. So yeah, so there was a lot of reset. You get, then again, when all that was happening was when he took ill, know, and that was really where, a lot of people probably started looking at, the weakness the man had, that, I mean, he was frail and, could fall ill. And so, yeah, so that changed the perspective of a lot of people. And don't also forget that we have a government system or a governance system where, you have a lot of seasoned civil servants that you must navigate through to achieve your policies and programs. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have situations where from that end, you have a lot of frustration and all. And this is not me trying to make excuses for him and all, but I mean, there were challenges. There were a lot of things we did not know going into that election and being in government, And by the time he won that election and got into government, it was a totally different ball game. It wasn't as easy as we thought it was going to be from the outside, So there were a lot of things that you could not forcefully do because there were guiding laws and principles that you must navigate through to achieve certain things. So yes, so when I look at the Buhari's administration, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the social investment programs, that was instituted, that had 4 different programs, from the Empower, the conditional cash transfer, the Jeep, and, the market money and the trader money and all of that. Now, all that put together. Now, when you look at success level and everything, so everything has its downside, but the fact remains that people benefited from these programs, and it touched the lives of a lot of people. Like I said, in 2019, part of the votes we got was people that were on that program, that benefited from it and wanted the government to continue so that benefit will keep going on and also, yeah. So when I look at the positive side of, the man, President Mohammadu Buhari, who is now late, I look at the positive side of him. Yeah, he had his weaknesses, weaknesses. We can look at the fact that he had cabinet in place that he barely, he barely oversaw, and a lot of them did things that we didn't expect them to do, and all of that. Yeah, so he fell short in that light. I mean, we cannot speak about him without saying that, of course, the fact that he wasn't even sacking people, when he needed to do all of that. And yeah, but every leader has got a style of leadership, and I think that probably, it depends on what prism you look at it from, could be his weakness or his strength, or I mean, if you give people a job, you expect them to do what is expected to be done for, for the greater good of Nigeria. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, of course, whilst you were talking earlier on, you said in 2015, Nigerians needed that change, and late President Mohammadu Bahari was the man that you could put your money on.
Yeah.
What are those traits, what are those character traits, basically, that could say, that you would say this is the reason why President Bahari was the man as at the time to bring the change?
Okay, so when he was military head of state in 1983, we're still young. I know that if there was anything people spoke about President Mohammadu Buhari then was his anti-corruption, toga, and his uprightness. Now, also in 2015, we saw a man that for every election from 2003, 2007, 2011, he had a constant voters that were always there for him, between 10 and 12 million votes standard. And I don't think as it stands today, we have anybody that has that level of, supporters, So, yeah, so it was more or less like good candidate, upright in nature, anti-corruption crusader, and he already has that cult followership that we all felt could give us a win over a sitting government that we never would have imagined can happen in the history of Nigeria. And it happened. Because look, for us in the political space, what matters the most is not numbers. So we look at numbers, we look at who can bring what to the table. So basically I think that also formed a larger chunk of, and of course we knew that he wanted, at that time we wanted something different from what was happening. And we all believed that he could be that man that will drive that dream that we all wanted. So yeah.
All right. Now, you made mention of the fact that every leader has his own political style.
Absolutely.
And because of his military background, a lot of people saw his style as discipline over diplomacy, right? Do you think that that worked for or against him in the long run?
So I think he realized, because I remember there was one interview where he said that he wished he was younger, and he wished it was during the military era where the constitution is suspended, and you have you just have you dish out instructions and you give out orders and things are done. But a lot of things goes through processes and all of that. So yeah, he couldn't have, especially not even with the whole social media presence, that we didn't have during the time of the time of President Obasanjo. So social media had, it was like a checkmate for leaders. And I think then of course you have civil society, monitoring what you're doing and all of that. So yeah, he couldn't have even done certain things, or the way he would have approached, his governance structure would have been, maybe a bit stricter and all. But I mean, the laws will not allow you to do that. And if there was anybody I knew would always ask about what the society felt, or what civil society was saying, or what the social media space was all about in setting decision, was President Mohammadu. He was very concerned, and even the international community was very concerned about what they will say and what they feel. So that also informed a whole lot of things. So I think I saw a man that probably felt felt restricted from that era of military where you just give out instruction and it's carried out and all of that. Yeah. So that indiscipline, that anti-corruption that they ran, during his days as a military head of state with, President with his vice Idi Agbon. I mean, he couldn't do all of that. Everything had to go through process and rule of law. So yeah.
Okay. So just a follow-up question to that. You have made mention of the fact that he didn't know that these things were going to be like that, especially when he was last president during a military system of government, and now he's getting into a democratic system of government. Don't you think that these are things that, now away from the former president don't you think that these are things that they should have considered before getting into office?
So I completely agree with you. A lot of times we do politics here based on sentiments stemming from religion, ethnicity, compassion, and different things that people just put in front and don't ask the right question or see the right reasons why you should, pick a choice or a candidate, So for us, we just felt, Nigeria was at a precipice, and we needed to have a leader that will deliver for us, regardless of whether after 1983 he had done courses or he had, done programs that could give him that mental acumen to deliver on the job as president. Because being president of Nigeria is a huge and a very tasking job, and we must start looking at those things, those futures and those profile of the person that can actually get the job done, from your health, from your level of reasoning, and the way you you navigate across the country, because we have a lot of leaders we have today are regional leaders, you know, and it becomes a problem, and that's where you find people complaining about how some people are more catered to than you know, the other part of the country and all of that, in terms of appointments and, you know, so many things. So yeah, again, we cannot take away the fact that Nigeria, our democratic space, is evolving, and there are a whole lot that still needs to be done, you know. And I think that we were where we were in 1999 as compared to where we are today. We've moved, you know, but of course a whole lot needs to still be done. And I think that with everybody, and look, we cannot just sit down and blame the government. And I always say this, and it is the reason why some of us, you know, got into this space, you know, because you must add your voice, you must participate, and you must also ensure that that thing you complain about within your little space, how have you fared? Have you been fair to everybody that is around you? Have you done what you are supposed to do and all of that? So yes, so we must at every point in time understand that, look, governance is the responsibility of every Nigerian. That's and right. we must have a role to play. You know, so yeah, so they're just a mixed bag of a whole lot of things. But at the end of the day, President Mohammadu Bahuri is no more. He has done his 8 years. We have somebody else on the mantle. How is that person faring? The things that people are saying about the late president, is that the kind of things you want to hear when you are out of that office and all of that? You know, so yeah, so there's just a whole lot of things that still needs to be done in our democratic space.
Now, a few things I picked up as well to whilst you were talking. First of all, you said that from 1999 up until now, we have moved, right? Let's first establish that, have we moved progressively in the form of movement? Yeah,
so when I talk about, of course, this is me talking about movement that is around, you know, voter party, you know, the awareness of electorates is there. You know, then of course our electoral system. I mean, in 1999 to 2003, we had situations where people just sit down, write votes, and you know, we had participation of vote. You see, then the winning candidate has 19 million and all that. But as it stands today, you know, because of, you know, the systems that have been put in place that checkmates all those illegal. I mean, it's not watertight. Yes, I know, but at the end of the day, we've made a lot of progress. We've improved on, you know, the electoral reforms that have happened from 1999 till date. Yeah. And it has at least reduced that vote that people always say it doesn't count. You know, I think votes count, you know, because at the end of the day, if you don't go out to vote, that is where that manipulation and it becomes a problem, you know. So yeah, so in terms of awareness and people being deliberate about who they want, I mean, it happened in 2023. You had a movement where a Labour Party candidate did not have any governor, but still got 6-point-something million votes. You know, we never would have imagined, even me, I never would have imagined that a day will come where 8-point-something million vote was going to make somebody a president in this country. We've always had 19 million, 15 million, you know, and the rest. But it was keenly contested because people believed in the process. And people believed that, look, our vote can actually matter. It can actually count. And we saw it happen. You know, it was a tight race. Unfortunately, we had people that felt it should have gone in a certain way. It didn't go for them, and they are still aggrieved up until this moment. You know, so it's a work in progress, and we will continue to, you know, fix it and get it right at some point. You know.
All right. Well, just picking up as well as a follow-up question, one of the things I picked up earlier whilst we were also speaking, you talked about the criteria, you know, that's been needed to elect our president. You know, some of them talked about the mental argument, talk about evolution as well when it comes to growth, the health, which is also part of it. We had former President Mohammadu Bahuri come into office. Health was a challenge for him.
Absolutely.
God bless his soul right now. Now we also have the current president, still from the same administration, still from the same party. Would you say that the party hasn't really learned anything from the previous administration and are doing the same thing. Because we have our president still going out for medical checks right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier, you see, for politicians, we look at numbers. You know, so that's why a lot of times, I'm sorry to say, like if you look at subnationals, there are a lot of mediocres that are governors. That's the truth. But you see, you rally round the person you think can get you the votes. You know, which is the case as it stands today. You know, and a lot of things are a factor to read. And I mentioned ethnicity, religion. Then there are certain sentiments. You know, so if you go down to the east, you see they talk about he's not a Catholic, he's a Catholic. You know, yeah, because most of the population in the east you are either Catholic or Anglican. You just have few people that are in other denominations and all. So yeah, so we have that part that, you know, that is still a major part. You know, then also don't forget the process that even trump up candidates for political party. You and I are not a part of that process. And that is the delegate system and all. So you see, most times the people that even choose these people that we eventually go to queue and vote for are people that are driven by what the candidate can give them and what they can get. You know, so it's a whole lot, you know, that we need to still do to correct the system. Do I think that the qualification of becoming a president is just a school cert? I don't think so. The least that we should even have is a degree. The minimum should be a degree. You know, and you know, so we need to start even for every political office. The least should be at least a degree, and we must also be able to trace the character of this person from. I mean, organizations do checks. They do background checks. Do you get? So we should also be able to do background checks on our politicians. You know, so that when you have any intention, it guides the way you behave. So then, family value that is gradually eroding, if not fast eroding, parents will now understand that, look, my child must have certain guidance so that in the eye of the society, people can speak for that person that wants to become XYZ, you know, because even from keenly, I mean, even at the primary and secondary school level, you have where it's a keenly contest for head boyship and head girlship, you know. So all those things are things that we must start looking into, you know, and that awareness, we must start creating it, you know. And until we move away from that shift where people concentrate on ethnicity, religion, and all these other factors, you know, that drive our political, you know, space. I mean, it will always be a problem. It will always be a problem.
All right. Now let's ask a bit personal question now, because you have rightfully pointed out that there were certain lapses with the Buhari's administration, especially because of his health and certain things that were not properly checked before he emerged president of Nigeria. Now, would you still, knowing what you know about how his government turned out, because sometimes about the gap of knowledge that he had in ruling a democratic system, would you still pick him as a candidate?
So, it's not a yes or a no. I'll just give a little insight. So, we were at we had a situation on hand. Now, don't forget that in 2011 and into 2012, we had the subsidy removal protest that a lot of Nigerians were really not happy about, you know. And it was even partial removal. It wasn't total like we have currently, you know. So, you see, all those things was a catalyst to why we decided that, look, this person was and that was why when the president came on board, he avoided that whole subsidy removal issue because he knew what happened to his predecessor. You know, so at the end of the day, for us, if not because things went south, I don't think that the choice of even President Mohammadu Buhari would have even been on the table. You know, because one, age was not even on his side, you know, and we knew that, look, he has not been I mean, he has not been in a lot of fora.
Yeah.
You know, even then, he wasn't even attending, you know, meetings where head of states, and, you know, he was not even doing all of that. But he still had that cult followership that every politician will always put into consideration first, you know. So that played a lot of, you know, role, you know, impacting on what we felt at the time. If we turn back the hands of time, I probably would have just said, okay, yeah, we need to win this election, but we will need somebody that he will just lift his hands up and we'll get that vote shifted to him, and you know, a more younger candidate or something. So yeah.
Okay. All right. It's a very diplomatic answer. Very diplomatic. But yeah, we are already at half of the hour and we must go out to catch our breath for a bit. When we get back, we'll keep up the conversation about former President Mohammadu.
In the heart of Nigeria, a literary giant emerged, Wole Soyinka. Born on July 13, 1934, Soyinka became the first African laureate to win the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1986. Known for his powerful plays, poetry, and essays, Soyinka's work explores themes of oppression, identity, and freedom. His first play, A Dance of the Forest, challenged colonialism and celebrated African culture. As a fierce human rights activist, Soyinka has faced imprisonment for his opposition to military dictatorships. His advocacy for democracy and justice has made him a symbol of courage. He has achieved numerous accolades and milestones throughout his illustrious career, recognized for his extensive body of work that combines poetry, drama, and prose with a deep commitment to human rights. He is the founding member of the Association of Nigerian Authors, which promotes and supports Nigerian literature. His numerous plays include A Dance of the Forest, The Lion and the Jewel,
Hello Rapid TV, my name is Kunle Remy.
Hello Rapid TV, my name is William Suchemba.
My name is Choma Chukuka.
Hello Rapid TV, my name is Stan Nze.
Hello, Rapid TV. My name is Vivian Glam Gabriel.
Hello Rapid TV, my name is Jide Kene.
Hi Rapid TV, my name is Steve Chooks.
Best Afrobeat song will go to The Bunch and Snoop Dogg, Oliver Twist.
Piece of my heart, Whiskey. Right now, probably Be Grateful by Fino.
My favorite Afrobeat song is Afrobeat.
I can't, there's so much.
It has to be one of our third songs.
I love a lot of them. I don't think I have a favorite Afrobeat song right now. I cannot pick.
I can't Popo.
Living in Bondage.
It has to be between Blood Sisters and Lionhearts.
I don't have favorite anything. I have favorite food. I have favorite colors. I barely have favorite any other thing.
Oh my God. Living in Bondage. The first one. I'm not a child.
Right now, it gets a love story.
Okay, my favorite Nigerian dish would be
Banga stew with rice.
Come on now, Okwa.
Pounded yam and egusi soup. Beans and plantain.
Is Oha soup. Fufu and Oha soup. Thank you.
Bread and akara.
bitter leaf soup with catfish and snail and fufu. Proper Santana. Apple.
Nnekedu keke ime. Idi sure na ede mma. Idi kwoi. Ilalo ofuma tata. Iteta iligokwe nni. Ịma ndị gị n'afọ. You nwee ike mee things. You understand? Okay.
We are still right here in the Dawn. We are hanging back. He a politician. We have been accessing the life and times and the years in office of President Mohammadu Bahuri. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about his economic policies. Well, the closing of the borders, the foreign exchange restrictions, and the push for local production that he made. Were those bold moves for national interest or policy missteps that hurt the common man?
Okay, those were actually moves made to improve internal production for our local farmers and people farming in commercial basis. So yes, I can't say that it was a complete success, because the borders were not completely closed. It was closed, but I mean, you still had things moving, foreign rice and all of that still coming. And so yeah, farmers had that boom, so to speak, because the CBN, as at the time, was giving a lot of, anchor borrowing and loans to farmers for production and all, but it did not reflect on the price of bag of rice. And so yeah, but the fact remains that that policy helped a lot of people to grow in terms of return on investment and all of that, but I think it took a toll on final end users, consumption. So, but a lot of times policies are done with seeing the positive side of what is going to come out of it. Unfortunately, I don't think that worked the way it should have worked, because even the whole anchor borrower scheme thing had its downside, where people that were not farmers were taking those loans, and and it was even more or less like a grant to an extent. People diverted it. The people that should have gotten it didn't happen the way. I mean, from the investigation of the CBN governor, as of this moment, you see that a whole lot of things did not happen, the way the president would have expected that it should have happened. Yeah. So
I think during this tenure as well too, we saw some recessions. About two recessions. We saw the Naira weekend as well too.
Absolutely.
We saw massive debt as well to increase. What was the cause?
So yeah, the recessions we had, two of the recessions, in as much as we even got out of it, we got out of it faster than people had, the World Bank had predicted and all.
But it was an economic tough season as well for us.
Absolutely. But you see, again, it was a global recession. At the time, you had UK, even America had their own recession, which was even worse than what we experienced in Nigeria and all. And I think why we did not even feel it that much, the border closure also helped, because we're not completely dependent on importation when it comes to food and the way it was as at the time. And we came out of the recession. I doubt if anyone lasted up to 3 months. Yeah, we came out of the recession very fast, and it happened twice. There was one that happened when COVID came. And we also still surmounted it and all. So yeah, it wasn't completely a bad period. It was tough, because also don't forget that while I hate to blame past administration, the fact remained that in 2014 the Minister of Finance and the economy, as at that time, Okonjo-Iweala had told us Nigerians to tighten our belt, that the economy was going to really hit hard on the people. So all that was already on the way before the president even took over. It's just that I think Nigerians, a lot of times we have selective amnesia. We just focus on the person that is there, and you don't blame them, because any new leader comes with a lot of promises, and the expectations are very, very high, and you don't blame Nigerians. So you come into power is to come and solve problems. Nobody wants to hear excuses. So yeah, so I think he did his best. To be honest, he did his best.
Okay. So let's pick it up from insecurity a little bit, please. Okay. Yeah. Because one of the reasons why former President Goodluck Jonathan was
Yeah.
also fourth, and we needed to change that administration was because there was growing insecurity from banditries to insurgency, basically. And then we had a president with a military background.
Absolutely.
But again, he was supposed to address that. But when he came into office as well, too, insecurity didn't decline as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think it even increased because we started having banditry in the northwest.
Exactly.
You know, we had Boko Haram in the northeast, then Fulani headsmen in the north central and all of that. Yeah. You see, I don't know at what point things went south, but you see, again, for our situation as Nigerians, you know, a lot of people in the governance structure, you know, especially at some point, I think it's safe to say that the military became complacent because we had situations where top military men were asking to be posted to all these places because it was more or less like going to make money and all of that. So all that, you know, were in the whole mix of that insecurity that increased. Now, also don't forget that when we talk about insecurity, a lot of times for the feat the military would have made, it goes unreported. But you see, when you hear that they sacked a village, you know, media picks it up because I think generally world over media sells when you talk about negative things and the positives, you know. So yeah, no doubt, I cannot sit down here and say that insecurity improved and all of that. But you see, again, I will not also forget the fact that before Buhari took over in 2015, in Abuja, you had most of the military facilities and government offices cordoned off. You know, there were barricades, you could hardly even pass around those places. All that, you know, was removed. We had all that taken out, you know, during the same Buhari we speak about. And I don't think any bomb went off during his time, you know, in Abuja. You get so yeah, so there were places that there were gains, and there were places that, you know, they needed to do more. You know, so yeah, we scored low during, you know, his time in office when we speak about insecurity. This is me being very sincere.
Yeah. Especially because, you know, you made mention of the fact that he's from the military government, so he didn't know how to function in a democratic government. But that one aspect was one that would have changed the narrative for him completely because he was from a military government.
He had the experience.
It was believed that he had the experience and he knew how to deal with these things. But sadly, it turned out how it turned out. Now, part of the failures that were experienced during the Buhari's administration, I would say, is his cabinet members. In fact, we had a minister of education come out to say he didn't even understand what he was doing in office. He knew nothing about, you know, his position as a minister of education at that time. He came out and made certain claims that...
Was it Minister of Education or it was the humanitarian minister?
No, it was the Minister of Education.
Okay.
He said he didn't know, you know, how to run that office, which was quite embarrassing because, again, education was the bedrock of every nation. Now, his administration was characterized by a lot of complacency, not just from the president's quarters. Because, again, you mentioned the fact that he barely had time to interact with his cabinet members. But the cabinet members also didn't hold him accountable. You know, when you are doing a job and your boss is not asking you anything, sometimes you go up there to give him updates about, you know, some of the things that happened within his administration. Now, the government has faced accusation of ethnic favoritism, which they have said is the reason that we had a lot of complacent people in government. Because, again, look at where the president is coming from. We didn't have a lot of educated people coming from that end. But narrative has changed because these people are now taking education more seriously. And we are seeing a lot of them, you know, in the civic space, right? How do you respond to critics who say his administration's widening ethnic divide?
Yeah, so naturally, for every time we have a president who comes from a particular religion, it's always going to be like that. I remember that during the Jonathan administration, people felt, you know, the Southeast, not even the South where he comes from, people felt the Southeast was more favored. And if you look at the statistics of the people that had, you know, that were in the cabinet, you will agree, you know, because the top people that held, you know, very key positions were, you know, were from the southeast. You know, so yeah, so we still have that problem. You know, even with this administration, it's safe to say that we are still even experiencing it. You know, so do I think so? A lot of time, I think, if we look at the statistics, because we had this argument that, you know, that one-sided appointment when it comes to, you know, where the president is from, when we had our guys come up with, you know, the statistics of people holding different positions and all, and it turned out to be that the South were even more favored during the Bahuri administration. But I think what happened more that was a disadvantage to the Bahuri administration was the fact that his communicators were not communicating rightly with the Nigerian people. You know, that was a major, you know, setback for that administration. You know, because there were times people felt, because Bahuri is from the Northwest, but the people that held critical positions were from the Northeast. You know, so his chief of staff was from the Northeast, the chief of army staff, you know, a couple of people, you know. So you had the Attorney General also, you know. So you just had a couple of people that were more concentrated in a particular region, you know, not necessarily from where he comes from and all, but we would always keep having that, you know, people concentrating their energy or concentrating appointments from where they come from, you know. So yes, I agree that it created that divide, you know, and the gaps needed to have been closed, because, you know, we always say we are one Nigeria, and the only way we can see that we are one Nigeria is when, you know, there is that equity, fairness, and justice for all, you know. So yeah, so it's a double-edged sword. It's neither here nor there, but, you know, I think it would have been better because there were critical positions. So for instance, the military, you know, had most of the heads, you know, from one region, and people always talked about it, you know. For me, again, I was just telling, after the match yesterday, I had conversation around, you know, his death and, you know, things that happened during his time. For me, what I always say is, it doesn't matter where the people come from. Are they delivering on the job they are meant to deliver on? You know, so my concentration will be on that person in that office. How is that person doing? Do you need to, you know, guide the person more to do better? Do you need to sack the person? Which was also, again, one of the major problems the Bahuri administration had. He barely sacked anybody. It was more or less like if you had an appointment, you had a guaranteed 4 years. You know, so that was, for me, was a weakness, because we would have wished that he sacked people, because it would have, other people would have sat up and know that, look, it's not business as usual. We need to get the job done. You know, so yeah, so I think to a large extent it was you know, a bit of downside, you know, for the Bahuri administration. You know, so but again, when I look at the Bahuri administration, I look at the not too young to run bill that was passed. You know, I look at a couple of, you know, tech bills that was passed, you know, to open that space for young people. You know, so I will not run away. Then, of course, there were still bills that he passed that took some policies that were strictly on the exclusive list, you know, to the concurrent list, where, you know, subnationals had the opportunity to, you know, power, for instance, you know. So now, as it stands, Bahuri assented to the bill that gave subnationals the power to, you know, come up with your own grid, you know, so that if you have excess, you can push into the national grid and all of that. So, you know, so it's not totally a bad news.
Okay. So as we come to a close, let me just ask. Now, history is writing the first draft of his legacy. Because, I mean, I'm sure that every other sister station will be talking about what he has done or what he hasn't done. What do you wish that Nigeria should remember the president for?
So for me, Nigerians should remember the president for his uprightness. There is no doubt he was incorruptible. He was not a corrupt leader. That we can say, that I can say anywhere, anytime. You know, he was that leader that allowed the people he gave the opportunity to serve in his government, you know, to do what he thinks is right for the Nigerian people. Unfortunately, a lot of people failed him and they didn't get fired. But he's gone. There's nothing we can do about his 8 years, you know, that have passed. But it should be a guide for us, you know, to hold our leaders accountable for the places where, you know, they fell short and where we expected them to have done better.
So if you were to score President Mohammadu Bahari's presidency, both on delivery, both on impact as well, on a scale of 1%, what are you going to score the late president?
I'll score him 5.
5.
Half of that.
Half,
All
yeah.
right.
All right.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. Right. If you have just joining us, I'd say that you missed a bit. But we have had Mr. Andrew Abu, and he is a political strategist and a member of the APC, help us dissect the life and times of President Mohammadu Buhari, and it was a wholesome moment. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Myself and Victor were up for a close right now. I will say that my Monday was good. The week is looking good. And we have had an amazing time having these conversations here on TV, and I hope that you had a good time as well. Before we head out, let's remind you that we are active across social media platforms, from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok and X, which is formerly Twitter. It is Rapid TV. On YouTube, where you can pretty much rewatch every single episode that we have had. In fact, it's a new week, so it's good to remind you that the episode from last week you can catch up with, and you can keep tabs with the episodes of this week at Official Rapid TV. Follow us, like, subscribe, comment, and share the videos to as many people as possible. And yes, with one click, you are connected to us from anywhere in the world. We have a website that is pretty much active and is willing to carry you along at www.rbnradiotv.com. I am Martha Alu. You can call me Martha.
And of course, I am Victor Ake. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
My name is Akio Sakido.
Hey guys, this is Anto Lecky.
My name is Leo Bliss.
My name is Akava. I go by the name Baba D.
And you're tuned into Rapid TV. And I love Rapid TV.
Shout out
Rapid TV.
Thank you, Rapid TV. Please keep watching
Rapid TV. This is
Rapid TV.
Rapid
TV.
Keep watching.
Keep it well down.
Leave it like that.
Nigeria's economy, the global markets, what does it all mean for you? From stock market insights to global financial news you need to know, from Wall Street to the main street and of course the marketplace.
Get the answers you need every week on Business Lens with me, Faith Dafa Joseph, as I bring into focus the stories, strategies, and shifts shaping our economy. No angle is missed as I talk about the business, the people, patterns, and possibilities behind them. Welcome to the Business Lens.
Rapid TV, rooted in truth, driven by impact.
Correro, your front row seat to the most pressing issues, from the corridors of power to the heart of our communities. We bring you unfiltered insight, fearless journalism, and the conversations that matter. My name is Nacho Prince, and I invite you to this big conversation table as we analyze the top stories, ask the tough questions, and hold power to account. News that informs, analysis that empowers, debate that drives change. Correro, the big conversation, every weekday at 7 p.m. only on Rapid TV.
Meet the men and women shaping the future of Nigeria. Get to know your representatives at the National Assembly. From lawmaking to constituency projects, we'll take you behind the scenes and inside the chambers of the Nigerian National Assembly. Learn about the bills they are championing, the challenges they are facing,